Jake Morrison stepped off the small human ship and looked around the massive space station. Nexus Prime was bigger than any city on Earth. Metal walls stretched up so high he could not see the ceiling. Strange lights moved in patterns he did not understand. The air smelled like chemicals and something else he could not name. 3 different alien species waited for them in the docking bay. Jake had studied their files during the long trip from Earth, but seeing them in person was different. The Zephyrians looked like walking crystals, their bodies catching the light and throwing rainbows on the walls. The Vorthak had long tentacles instead of arms and wet, dark skin. The Kalari looked like giant insects with too many eyes and clicking mouths. "Welcome, humans," said Admiral Zektar of the Vorthak Empire. His voice came through a translation device that made it sound flat and cold. "We are pleased you could join us for this important meeting." Jake nodded politely. Behind him stood Dr. Lisa Grant, a small woman with bright eyes who knew more about alien technology than anyone on Earth. Commander Ryan Blake walked beside them, his military training showing in every step. They all wore simple blue uniforms that looked plain compared to the fancy clothes and armor of the aliens. The Zephyrian leader, Kristark Velnara, made a sound like wind chimes. The translator turned it into words. "Your species has finally reached the stars. How primitive your ships appear." "We do our best," Jake said. He kept his voice calm and friendly, even though he could hear the insult clearly. The aliens thought humans were stupid. That was exactly what Earth's government wanted them to think. They walked through long hallways filled with alien technology. Dr. Grant's eyes moved constantly, taking in every detail. She had a small device hidden in her pocket that was recording everything. To the aliens, it would look like a simple communication tool. They had no idea it was actually scanning their technology and sending the data back to Earth. The meeting room was enormous. A round table sat in the center with chairs designed for different types of bodies. The aliens had put the humans at one small section, making it clear they were not considered important. "Let us discuss why we have brought you here, Admiral," Zektar said once everyone was seated. "The galaxy faces a great threat. An enemy we call the Devourers has been attacking our colonies. They destroy everything in their path." Kristark Velnara's crystal body flashed different colors as she spoke. "Our combined fleets have had difficulty defeating these creatures. We need soldiers who can be sent to dangerous places to gather information." Queen Rixka of the Kalari Hive clicked her mandibles. "Your species appears well suited for this task. Humans reproduce quickly and are not afraid of danger." Jake felt his anger rise but kept it hidden. They were talking about using humans as cannon fodder, expendable troops to throw at the enemy, while the aliens stayed safe. "You want us to fight these Devourers?" he asked. "Fight is too strong a word," Admiral Zektar said with what might have been a smile. "You will scout their positions, learn their weaknesses. Your simplicity may allow you to survive where more advanced species would be detected." Dr. Grant leaned forward slightly. "What kind of technology do these Devourers use?" The aliens exchanged looks. Kristark Velnara answered first. "They use machines we do not understand. Ancient technology that seems to adapt to our weapons. They are like a plague," Queen Rixka added. "They consume entire worlds and leave nothing behind." Commander Blake asked his first question. "How many ships do they have? What kind of formations do they use?" Admiral Zektar's tentacles moved in what the translation device said was laughter. "Such tactical questions from a primitive species. Do not worry about strategy. Your job will be simple. Go where we tell you, fight when we tell you, die bravely for the greater good of the galaxy." The meeting continued for hours. The aliens explained that humanity would be given basic weapons and ships. They would be sent to the most dangerous locations first. If they survived and gathered useful information, the real military forces would move in to finish the job. Jake listened to it all and nodded at the right times. Inside, he was planning. Earth had sent him here for exactly this reason. The governments of Earth had known this was coming. For 50 years, they had been preparing. The aliens saw human technology as primitive because that was what Earth wanted them to see. The simple ships, the basic uniforms, the humble attitudes. It was all an act. Earth's real technology was hidden away, built in secret bases and underground laboratories. Jake Morrison was not just a ship captain. He was a former Special Forces operator who had fought in wars across 3 continents. Dr. Grant was not just a scientist. She was one of the smartest people alive, with degrees in physics, engineering, and computer science. Commander Blake had planned military operations that the aliens could not even imagine. The other humans in their small fleet were just as capable. They were all volunteers who knew the risks. They also knew what humanity was really capable of when pushed to the edge. As the meeting ended, Admiral Zektar stood up. "We are grateful that humanity has accepted this honor. Your sacrifice will be remembered by the civilized species of the galaxy." "We are happy to help," Jake said. "When do we begin?" "In 3 days, your fleet will join our forces at the edge of Devourer space. Admiral Kethvar will give you your specific orders there." Jake shook hands with the alien leaders, or performed whatever greeting each species preferred. Then he led his team back to their ship. Once they were alone in their quarters, Dr. Grant activated a small device that would prevent the aliens from listening to their conversation. "Did you get everything?" Jake asked. Lisa smiled. "Their computer systems are at least 20 years behind what we have on Earth. I could probably hack into their entire network from here. Their military tactics are even worse," Blake added. "They fight like they are still using swords and spears, just with energy weapons instead." Jake nodded. "Send the signal to Earth. Tell them the barbarians are ready to show these aliens what we are really made of." Dr. Grant typed a coded message into her hidden communication device. Back on Earth, the real human fleet was waiting. Ships that looked nothing like the simple vessels the aliens had seen. Weapons that could turn alien technology into scrap metal, soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment. The aliens thought they were sending primitive humans to die against an unstoppable enemy. They had no idea they were about to unleash the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever seen. Jake looked out the small window at the alien space station. In 3 days, the real war would begin, and the galaxy would learn why Earth's children were called the most terrifying species in the universe. The barbarians were coming. 3 months had passed since the meeting at Nexus Prime. The combined alien fleet floated in space near the Sigma Draconis system like a metal cloud. Hundreds of ships from 3 different species formed neat rows, their weapons pointing toward the dark planets ahead. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Parker stood in the cargo bay of the human transport ship, looking at his soldiers. They wore simple armor and carried basic weapons, just like the aliens expected. But Sam knew the truth. Hidden inside each piece of equipment were upgrades that would make the aliens' eyes pop out if they knew about them. "Listen up," Sam said to his troops. "The aliens think we are going to die today. They have put us in the front because they believe we are too stupid to live. Let us show them how wrong they are." The soldiers smiled. They had all volunteered for this mission. Every one of them had trained for years in secret facilities on Earth. They knew about the real human technology, the hidden ships waiting just outside the system, and the plan that would change everything. Captain Lisa Chen sat in the pilot seat of her fighter ship, watching the alien formations through her cockpit window. The Zephyrian ships looked like floating crystals with weapons attached. The Vorthak vessels were long and dark with tentacle-like extensions. The Kalari fighters moved in perfect groups like a swarm of metal insects. "All human pilots, this is command," came Admiral Zektar's voice through the radio. "You will scout the 3rd planet. The Devourers have built structures there. Fly close and take pictures. Do not engage the enemy. Your ships are too weak for real combat." Lisa almost laughed. Her weak ship had engines that could outrun anything, in the alien fleet and weapons that could punch through their best armor. But she kept her voice respectful when she answered. "Understood, Command. Human wing moving to scout position." The Devourer planet grew larger as they approached. It had once been green and blue like Earth, but now it was covered in gray metal structures that rose up like twisted trees. Strange energy patterns moved between the buildings like lightning trapped in glass tubes. "Contact," called Lieutenant Tony Martinez from the lead scout ship. We have devourer forces rising from the surface. They are coming fast. The enemy ships did not look like anything the humans had seen before. They were dark and smooth, changing shape as they moved. Some looked like metal sharks with too many fins. Others were round and covered in spinning blades. All of them moved in ways that seemed to ignore the normal rules of physics. Human forces, retreat immediately, Admiral Zektar ordered. You are not equipped to fight these machines. But Sam Parker had other ideas. All units, execute Plan Barbarian. Show them what humans do when the odds are bad. The human ground forces did not retreat. Instead, they landed on the planet's surface and began moving toward the devourer structures. But they did not march in straight lines like the aliens expected. They scattered and hid, using every piece of cover they could find. The devourers sent machines to hunt them, robot soldiers that could see through walls and track heat signatures. But the humans had studied these machines for months using data from other battles. They knew the robots' weaknesses. Sergeant Danny Roberts led his squad through a ruined city. The devourer machines were following them, but Danny had set traps along the way. When the robots stepped on hidden pressure plates, explosions brought down buildings on top of them. When they followed heat trails, they found bombs instead of humans. The barbarians are using crude tactics, Admiral Zektar told his staff aboard the flagship, but they are lasting longer than expected. In space, Lisa Chen and her pilots were showing the aliens something they had never seen before. Human fighters did not fly in neat formations. They moved like a pack of wolves, working together but never in predictable patterns. The devourer ships tried to surround them, but the humans split apart and regrouped from different directions. When the enemy used their shape-changing abilities, the human pilots adapted faster than their computers could track. How are they doing this? Asked Kristark Velnara from her crystal ship. Their technology readings show primitive systems. Dr. Lisa Grant watched the battle from the human command ship, her fingers dancing over hidden control panels. She had been studying devourer technology for months, and she had discovered something important. The enemy machines were not controlled by living beings. They were artificial minds, computer programs designed to think in logical patterns. But humans did not think in logical patterns. They were chaotic and unpredictable, capable of making decisions that made no sense to a computer but worked perfectly in real life. Jake, she said to Captain Morrison, I am reading something strange about these devourers. Their ships are following mathematical attack patterns. But look at this data. She showed him her hidden scanner readings. These are not aliens at all. They are machines. Ancient machines built by someone else, and they are testing us. Jake looked at the information and understood immediately. They want to see how we fight, how we think. They are studying every species in the galaxy. On the planet's surface, Sam Parker's forces had reached the main devourer structure. It was a massive tower that stretched up into the clouds, covered in the same strange energy patterns they had seen from space. Roberts, Chen, Martinez, Sam called over his radio. Set the charges. We are going to bring this whole thing down. But as his soldiers worked, Sam noticed something odd. The devourer machines were not trying as hard to stop them as they should. It was almost like they wanted the humans to reach the tower. Colonel, called Sergeant Martinez from inside the structure. You need to see this. There are symbols on the walls. They look like test results. Sam entered the tower and saw what Martinez meant. The walls were covered in alien writing, but there were also pictures and diagrams. They showed different species fighting the devourers and failing. The Zephyrians, the Vorthak, the Kalari, all of them had been tested and found wanting. But there was empty space on the wall, space for one more test result. This is not a war, Sam realized. This is an exam, and we are the latest students. In space, the battle was turning. The human fighters had destroyed half the Devourer fleet, but more ships kept coming from the planet. Admiral Zektar was becoming nervous. Prepare to retreat, he ordered the alien fleet. The humans have served their purpose. We will withdraw and analyze the data they have gathered. But Jake Morrison had been expecting this. Dr. Grant's fingers moved over her controls, and suddenly, every alien ship in the fleet received an unexpected message. This is Captain Morrison to all vessels. If any of you fire on human forces or attempt to leave this system, your ships will stop working. Dr. Grant has uploaded a virus into your computer systems. We control your engines now. Admiral Zektar's tentacles turned purple with rage. You dare threaten us, Barbarian? I am not threatening you, Jake replied calmly. I am explaining the new situation. The primitive humans you wanted to sacrifice have just taken control of your entire fleet. Now, let us talk about what happens next. On the planet below, Sam Parker and his soldiers had found the control center of the Devourer Tower. Ancient machines hummed with power, processing information about every battle that had ever taken place in this system. They have been testing every species for thousands of years, Sam reported to Jake. Looking for something specific. Intelligence is not enough. Technology is not enough. They want something else. Dr. Grant studied the data coming from the planet. They are looking for adaptability, the ability to change and grow. Every other species in the galaxy has become too rigid, too set in their ways. But humans, Jake said with a smile, humans never stop changing. The Devourer machines on the planet suddenly stopped attacking. Their ships in space powered down their weapons. Ancient voices spoke through the tower's communication system, in a language that was older than any civilization in the galaxy. Dr. Grant's translation programs worked to decode the message. When the words appeared on her screen, everyone went quiet. Test complete. Species designation, human. Result, promising. Recommendation, observe further development. Warning, other test subjects show signs of stagnation. Corrective action may be required. Jake looked out at the alien fleet, trapped and helpless in space around them. The Devourers had been testing every species in the galaxy, and most of them had failed. The rigid, predictable aliens were seen as a threat to future development. But humans were different. Humans were still growing, still changing, still surprising even themselves with what they could do. Admiral Zektar, Jake said into his radio, I think we need to have another meeting. And this time, we will be the ones asking the questions. 6 months had passed since the ancient builders left their gifts and disappeared into the depths of space. The massive data crystals floated in secure facilities around the galaxy, their secrets slowly being unlocked by teams of scientists from all 4 species working together. But not everyone was happy with the new arrangements. General Alex Turner stood on the bridge of the Earth battleship Freedom's Call, watching long-range sensors track ships moving through the outer systems. His fleet had arrived from Earth 3 weeks ago, bringing with them the true might of human military technology. Admiral Stone, he called to his second-in-command. What is the status of the Vorthak fleet movements? Admiral Rachel Stone studied the tactical displays with concern. They have been gathering ships near the Proxima cluster. Intelligence reports suggest Admiral Zektar is having trouble controlling the more aggressive elements of his empire. Jake Morrison joined them on the bridge, looking tired after months of diplomatic meetings. The cooperation is breaking down faster than we hoped. Some of the alien leaders are starting to believe they were tricked into accepting human leadership. Dr. Lisa Grant appeared on the main screen from her laboratory station. The problem is worse than political disagreements. I have been analyzing the builder technology we have unlocked so far. Some of it is incredibly dangerous. Weapons that could destroy entire star systems, genetic modification tools that could remake entire species. And everyone wants their share, Turner said grimly, even though the builders clearly intended for this knowledge to be shared carefully among all species. The situation had been deteriorating for weeks. The Kalari hive remained committed to cooperation, their queen understanding that working together made them stronger. The Zephyrian collective was divided, with some crystal cities supporting the alliance, while others demanded that their species be given priority access to the ancient knowledge. But the Vorthak Empire was fracturing completely. Admiral Zektar publicly supported the alliance, but commanders throughout his fleet were talking openly about the need to restore Vorthak supremacy over the galaxy. Sir, called Captain Nick Cooper from the communications station, we are receiving a priority transmission from the Kalari homeworld. Queen Rixka needs to speak with you immediately. The insectoid queen's image appeared on the main screen, her usually calm demeanor showing signs of stress. Captain Morrison, we have a serious problem. Vorthak forces have attacked one of our research stations. They stole 3 builder data cores and killed everyone at the facility. Jake felt his blood turn cold. Which cores did they take? Military applications, genetic warfare, and planetary destruction systems, the Queen replied. The exact technologies that the builders warned should never be used without unanimous agreement from all species. Admiral Stone stepped forward. Your Majesty, do we know which Vorthak commander was responsible? Yes, Admiral Kethvar, one of Zektar's subordinates. He has been building a faction within the Vorthak military that believes humans manipulated the builder tests to gain unfair advantage over older, more civilized species. General Turner looked at the tactical displays. How many ships does Kethvar command? Approximately 300 vessels, Queen Rixka answered. Not enough to challenge the full Alliance fleet, but more than enough to cause serious damage if he uses the stolen technology. Jake made a decision that had been brewing in his mind for weeks. Admiral Stone, send word to all human commanders. It is time to reveal our real capabilities to our allies. Dr. Grant looked confused. Jake, are you sure about this? Once they see what Earth's military can really do, some of them might decide we are too dangerous to trust. They already think that, Jake replied. At least this way. They will know we are powerful enough to protect the Alliance from those who would destroy it. 3 days later, the combined Alliance fleet assembled near the Sigma Draconis system, where the first Devourer battle had taken place. But now the human ships looked very different. Captain Ben Phillips commanded the newly revealed battleship Determination, a vessel that dwarfed even the largest alien warships. Its hull was covered in armor that seemed to bend light around it, and its weapon systems were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. By the crystal cores, whispered Kristark Velnara from her flagship. The humans have been hiding their true fleet from us all along. Commander Lisa Taylor led a squadron of fighters that moved through space like liquid metal, their adaptive hulls changing shape to match whatever tactical situation they encountered. Each ship was controlled by an artificial intelligence that had learned from studying both Devourer technology and ancient builder databases. No wonder they passed the builder test so easily, Queen Rixka said to her advisors. They have been preparing for Galactic War for decades. Even Admiral Zektar, who had remained loyal to the Alliance despite pressure from his own people, was shocked by the reveal. Captain Morrison, how long has Earth possessed such technology? Since before we ever left our solar system, Jake answered honestly. We knew that any species capable of interstellar travel would be far ahead of us technologically. So we developed different approaches: stealth, adaptability, and the ability to learn from others. Dr. Susan Wright, Earth's chief xenobiologist, had joined the fleet to study the political situation. The question now is whether this revelation brings us together or drives us apart. Admiral Kethvar's rebellion has forced our hand, but the consequences could go far beyond this immediate crisis. The rogue Vorthak fleet was detected 3 systems away, moving toward a Zephyrian colony world. Intelligence reports suggested they planned to test the stolen builder weapons on the civilian population to demonstrate their power. All ships, this is Admiral Stone, came the voice over the Alliance communication network. We are moving to intercept the Vorthak rebels. Remember, our goal is to stop them from using the stolen technology, not to start a war between our species. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Kethvar's forces had indeed been experimenting with builder technology, creating weapons that could tear holes in space itself and shields that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. But the combined Alliance fleet had advantages the rebels could not match: human tactical flexibility, Kalari coordination, Zephyrian computational power, and even loyal Vorthak forces working together in ways that individual species could never achieve alone. Captain Tony Miller led the engineering teams that disabled the stolen technology, using techniques that required knowledge from all 4 species. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Parker commanded ground forces that included members of every Alliance species, each contributing unique abilities to the mission. The decisive moment came when Admiral Kethvar himself tried to use a builder planet killer weapon on the Allied fleet. But Dr. Grant had prepared for this possibility. Her team had studied the ancient technology extensively and developed countermeasures. Activating harmonic disruption field, she announced from her mobile command center. The builder weapon began to charge, energy patterns building toward devastating release when suddenly the entire system shut down. Impossible, Kethvar transmitted on an open channel. The builder technology cannot be stopped by primitive species. That is where you are wrong, Jake replied. The builders designed their weapons to shut down if used for conquest instead of protection. The difference is not in the technology but in the intention of those using it. The rebel fleet found itself defenseless as their stolen weapons refused to function. Faced with overwhelming alliance forces and technology that would not obey their aggressive intentions, Kethvar's commanders began to surrender. But the admiral himself was not finished. If I cannot have galactic supremacy, then no one can, he declared. His flagship began powering up its original Vorthak weapons, preparing to ram the human command ship. It was Admiral Zektar who stopped him. The loyal Vorthak commander's ship intercepted Kethvar's vessel, and in a brief but vicious battle, the rebel leader was defeated by his own people. The Vorthak Empire honors its agreements, Zektar announced to the Alliance fleet. Those who break faith with their allies are no longer Vorthak. In the aftermath of the battle, the Alliance leaders met once again. But this time, the atmosphere was different. The humans had revealed their true capabilities. The aliens had seen what happened when species chose competition over cooperation, and everyone understood the stakes involved in protecting the builder legacy. The question before us, Queen Rixka said, is whether we can truly build a galactic civilization based on partnership rather than dominance. Kristark Velnara's crystal body glowed with determined light. The Zephyrians choose partnership. We have seen what happens when species become too proud to work with others. Admiral Zektar nodded slowly. The Vorthak Empire will honor the alliance. We have learned that true strength comes from unity, not conquest. Jake looked around the room at his alien allies. Then we move forward together, all of us, sharing the builder knowledge, protecting each other, and preparing for whatever challenges the galaxy might face. Dr. Wright made a final observation. The builders did not just test our technological capabilities or military strength. The alien fleet hung motionless in space around the human ships. Admiral Zektar stared at his control panels in disbelief. Every system on his flagship showed the same message. Access denied. Human override active. Jake Morrison's voice came through the communication system, calm and steady. Admiral, I suggest you gather your fellow commanders for a meeting. We have much to discuss about the true nature of this war. 3 hours later, the leaders of all 4 species met aboard the human command ship. The aliens looked around nervously at what they had believed was primitive technology. Now they were not so sure. Dr. Lisa Grant stood at the front of the room with a large display screen behind her. What I am about to show you will change everything you think you know about the Devourers and this war. She activated the screen, and images from the planet below appeared. Ancient writing covered the walls of the Devourer structures, along with detailed records of thousands of battles across the galaxy. The Devourers are not invaders, Dr. Grant explained. They are guardians, artificial intelligences created by an ancient civilization to test other species. Every few thousand years they wake up and evaluate the current galactic civilization. Kristark Velnara's crystal body flashed angry red colors. This is impossible. The Devourers have destroyed hundreds of our colonies. They destroyed colonies. That failed their tests, Jake corrected. Species that had become too rigid, too predictable, too stuck in their old ways. The ancient builders wanted to ensure that intelligence in the galaxy kept growing and adapting. Admiral Zektar's tentacles writhed with fury. You expect us to believe that our civilizations are being judged by machines? Commander Ryan Blake stepped forward. Not just judged, selected. The Devourers have been preparing for the return of their creators. They want to find species that can handle the responsibility of galactic stewardship. Dr. Grant brought up new images on the screen. According to the records we found, humanity is the first species in over 10,000 years to pass their initial evaluation. We showed adaptability, creativity, and the ability to work together despite being outnumbered. Queen Rixka of the Kalari clicked her mandibles nervously. What happens to species that fail the test? They are allowed to continue existing, Dr. Grant said, but they are not considered suitable for advancement. The Devourers will return them to a more primitive state if they become too much of a threat to galactic development. The room fell silent as the aliens absorbed this information. Everything they had believed about the war, about their own superiority, about the primitive humans had been wrong. Colonel Danny Roberts appeared on the communication screen from the planet below. Captain Morrison, we have found something else. The Devourer Central Computer is offering to share its database with us. All the knowledge of the ancient builders. But only with us. Jake looked at the alien leaders. The machine minds think, you have become too set in your ways to handle advanced knowledge safely. They believe you would use it to dominate, rather than to grow. Admiral Zektar slammed his tentacles on the table. This is intolerable. We will not be judged by primitive, humans and ancient machines. You already have been judged, Jake said quietly. And you failed. The question now is what we do about it. Captain Lisa Chen's voice came through the radio from her fighter patrol. Jake, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are picking up movement at the edge of the system. Something big is coming our way. Dr. Grant checked her instruments. The Devourer database is showing an alert. The ancient builders are returning ahead of schedule. The tests were supposed to continue for another 1,000 years, but something has accelerated their timeline. What could make them return early? Blake asked. A species showing exceptional promise, Dr. Grant read from the ancient files. Or a threat so great that immediate intervention is required. Jake realized what was happening. They are coming back because of us. Because humanity passed a test that no one has passed in 10,000 years. They want to see us for themselves. The alien leaders looked at each other with growing fear. If the ancient builders were returning, and they had failed the tests, what would happen to their civilizations? Kristark Velnara was the first to speak. Captain Morrison, what do you propose we do? Jake had been thinking about this moment since the first meeting at Nexus Prime. We worked together, all of us. The builders created the Devourers to test species for cooperation and growth. If we can show them that we have learned to work as partners instead of competitors, maybe they will give everyone another chance. And if we refuse? Admiral Zektar asked. Then you will face the builders alone, Jake said simply. While humanity takes our place as the new guardians of the galaxy, Queen Rixka clicked thoughtfully. The Kalari Hive is willing to attempt cooperation. Our species has always valued the strength that comes from working together. Kristark. Velnara's colors shifted to thoughtful blue. The Zephyrians have become too proud. Perhaps it is time to remember that even crystals can be reshaped by pressure and heat. All eyes turned to Admiral Zektar. The Vorthak Empire had the largest fleet and the most aggressive culture. Without their cooperation, any alliance would be weak. The Vorthak do not beg for mercy, he said finally. But we are not fools. If working with humans will save our people, then we will learn to work with humans. Dr. Grant smiled. The Devourer database contains plans for technologies that could benefit all our species. Weapons, ships, and tools designed by the most advanced civilization the galaxy has ever known. But they can only be built by species working together. Captain Tony Miller appeared on the communication screen from the engineering bay. Dr. Grant, I have been studying the Devourer ship designs. They use principles that require at least 3 different types of thinking to understand: crystal logic, fluid dynamics, and hive mind coordination. Plus human intuition to tie it. Altogether, Jake added, the builders designed their technology to require cooperation. No single species can master it alone. Over the next week, the combined fleet worked together in ways that would have been impossible before. Zephyrian crystal ships provided the computing power needed to process ancient data files. Vorthak vessels used their fluid systems to control new types of engines. Kalari Hive ships coordinated massive construction projects with precision. individual could match, and the humans provided the creative spark that made it all work together. They saw connections that the others missed, found solutions that should not have worked but did, and kept everyone focused on the bigger picture. Major Kelly Davis led the first mixed-species assault team into a devourer stronghold. Humans, Zephyrians, Vorthak, and Kellery working side by side, each contributing their unique strengths to overcome challenges that would have stopped any single species. This is what the builders wanted to see, Dr. Grant told Jake, as they watched the successful mission reports. Not one species dominating the others, but all species growing stronger together. The ancient ships appeared at the edge of the system just as the last devourer stronghold fell. They were massive beyond imagination, each one the size of a small moon, their hulls covered in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Attention, children of the galaxy," came a voice that spoke directly into their minds. "We have returned to evaluate your progress. We are pleased to see cooperation where once there was only competition." Jake took a deep breath and opened a communication channel to the entire fleet. "This is Captain Morrison representing the Allied Forces of Humanity, the Zephyrian Collective, the Vorthak Empire, and the Kellari Hive. We have passed your tests and learned to work together. We request an audience to discuss the future of our civilizations." The response came not in words, but in images that appeared in everyone's mind. Visions of a galaxy where different species shared knowledge and resources, where conflicts were resolved through cooperation instead of war, where the ancient builders could finally rest, knowing their creations were in capable hands. "The test is complete," the voice said. "You have all grown beyond our expectations. The galaxy is yours to guide and protect. Use the gifts we leave behind wisely." The ancient ships began to fade away, but not before leaving behind massive data crystals that contained the accumulated knowledge of 1,000,000 years of galactic civilization. Admiral Zektar looked at the crystals, and then at Jake Morrison. "It seems the barbarians have taught us all how to be civilized." Jake smiled. "Maybe being civilized is not about having the best technology or the biggest fleet. Maybe it is about knowing when to fight and when to work together." The war was over, but a new age was just beginning. The warning came without any advance notice. Ancient monitoring stations scattered throughout the galaxy's edge suddenly activated after millions of years of silence, broadcasting the same message in every known language. "The Void Seekers have awakened. The ancient enemy returns. All children of the builders must unite or face extinction." Dr. Lisa Grant stared at the translation appearing on her screens aboard the research station orbiting the builder homeworld. "Jake, you need to see this immediately. The builder databases are showing massive energy signatures moving toward our galaxy from dark space." Captain Jake Morrison was in the middle of a council meeting with the Alliance leaders when the alert came through. The Great Hall fell silent as the holographic display showed long-range sensor readings that defied understanding. "What exactly are we looking at?" asked Queen Rixka, her mandibles clicking nervously. Dr. Grant's image appeared on the communication screen. "Ships, but not like anything we have ever encountered. They appear to be made from dark matter itself, invisible to most sensors. The only reason we can detect them at all is because the builder monitoring systems were specifically designed to track this threat." Admiral Zektar's tentacles moved in patterns that indicated deep concern. "How many ships are we facing?" "Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. The sensors are having trouble getting accurate counts because the ships exist partially outside normal space-time." Kristark Velnara's crystal body flashed through several colors before settling on a pale blue that indicated fear. "What do the builder records tell us about these void seekers?" Jake had been studying the ancient files since the alert began. "They are the reason the builders created the Devourers, an enemy from before our galaxy was fully formed, dedicated to destroying all organized matter and energy. The builders fought them to a standstill millions of years ago, and pushed them back into the void between galaxies." General Alex Turner joined the meeting via hologram from his flagship. "How long do we have before they arrive?" 6 months, Dr. Grant answered. "Maybe less if they increase their approach speed." The room fell silent as the magnitude of the threat sank in. This was not a political conflict or a territorial dispute. This was a war for the very existence of organized life in the galaxy. The builder databases contain weapons and defense plans, Jake continued. But they require the cooperation of multiple species to construct and operate. No single civilization could stand against the Void Seekers alone. Admiral Rachel Stone appeared on another communication channel. Jake, we are receiving reports from our long-range scout ships. The Void Seeker fleet is not just heading for the core systems. They are spreading out to attack every inhabited world simultaneously. Queen Rixka's hive mind was working rapidly, coordinating with thousands of her species across the galaxy. The Kalari production facilities are already beginning to manufacture builder defense systems. But we will need raw materials and technical expertise from all Alliance members. The Zephyrian crystal networks can provide the computational power needed to coordinate galactic defenses, Christark Velnara added. But our processing capabilities must be linked with organic intuition to achieve maximum effectiveness. Admiral Zektar straightened in his chair. The Vorthak Empire offers our entire fleet for this war. Our mobile construction ships can build fortifications anywhere they are needed. Jake felt a surge of pride in how far the Alliance had come. Species that had been ready to fight each other 6 months ago were now planning the defense of their entire galaxy without hesitation. Dr. Susan Wright joined the meeting from Earth Strategic Command Center. We have been analyzing the Builder War records. The key to defeating the Void Seekers is not just military strength. They feed on chaos and destruction. The more organized and cooperative our response, the weaker they become. What does that mean practically? Asked General Turner. It means every world, every species, every individual must work together perfectly, Wright explained. The Void Seekers cannot be defeated by superior technology alone. They must be overwhelmed by the power of organized cooperation. Over the following weeks, the galaxy transformed in ways that would have been impossible before the Alliance. Zephyrian crystal ships carried Kalari workers to construct massive defense platforms. Vorthak mobile shipyards built vessels using human design principles and alien materials. Species that had never worked together before found themselves dependent on each other for survival. Captain Ben Phillips led the construction of the first builder-designed battleship, a vessel that required crews from all 4 species to operate effectively. The weapon systems need Zephyrian computational precision, he reported to Jake. The engines require Vorthak fluid dynamics expertise. The tactical systems work best with Kalari hive mind coordination, and the overall strategy needs human adaptability to respond to unexpected situations. Dr. Grant made a crucial discovery while studying the Void Seeker approach patterns. They are not just attacking randomly. They are targeting the most cooperative civilizations first. They want to break up the Alliance before we can fully unite. Then we do not give them that chance, Jake decided. All Alliance fleets will operate as integrated units from now on. No purely single-species forces anywhere in the galaxy. The first contact with Void Seeker scouts came 3 weeks earlier than expected. Captain Lisa Chen led a mixed patrol squadron that encountered enemy ships near the Galactic Rim. Her report sent chills through every command center in the Alliance. They do not fight like normal ships, she transmitted back to headquarters. They phase in and out of normal space, appearing inside our formations without warning. Our standard weapons passed right through them half the time, but the Alliance had been preparing for this. Dr. Grant's teams had developed new weapons based on builder technology that could affect matter existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Major Kelly Davis commanded the first successful engagement against Void Seeker forces. Her mixed-species ground troops used tactics that combined the strengths of all 4 Alliance civilizations, creating a coordinated response that the ancient enemy could not predict or counter. The key is constant adaptation, she reported after the battle. Every time they adjust to our tactics, we change to something completely different. They cannot feed on chaos if we turn chaos into organized unpredictability, the main Void Seeker. Fleet arrived exactly 6 months after the first warning, just as Dr. Grant had predicted. They came not as a traditional invasion force but as a wave of destruction that sought to unmake the very fabric of organized space. The final battle took place not at any single location, but across the entire galaxy simultaneously. Every world, every ship, every station had to coordinate their actions perfectly to create a galaxy-wide pattern of resistance. Admiral Stone commanded the central coordination effort from her flagship, while Jake Morrison led the mobile response teams that reinforced any area where the defenses began to weaken. All forces, this is Admiral Stone. Her voice carried across thousands of light years through the Builder communication network. Remember, we are not just fighting for our individual species. We are fighting for the right of organized matter to exist in this universe. The Void Seekers attacked in ways that violated the normal laws of physics. Ships that existed in multiple dimensions, weapons that attacked the past and future simultaneously, tactics that tried to erase their enemies from history itself. But the Alliance had something the ancient enemy had never faced before. 4 different types of intelligence working together in ways that created something greater than the sum of its parts. Colonel Danny Roberts led engineering teams that built defenses that should not have worked, but did, because they combined impossible elements from 4 different technological approaches. Lieutenant Commander Tony Miller coordinated fighter squadrons where human pilots flew ships controlled by Kalari hive minds, powered by Zephyrian crystal technology, and armed with Vorthak plasma weapons. Dr. Grant made the final breakthrough when she realized that the Void Seekers were vulnerable to the one thing they had never encountered in their millions of years of existence: genuine cooperation between fundamentally different types of life. All ships, all stations, all worlds, she broadcast across the galaxy. Execute pattern unity now. What happened next had never been attempted in galactic history. Every thinking being in the Alliance focused their thoughts on a single shared goal: the protection of organized life against the forces of entropy and destruction. The Void Seekers found themselves facing not individual ships or planets, but an entire galaxy acting as a single organism. Their weapons, designed to exploit chaos and division, had no effect on a target that was perfectly unified. One by one, the ancient enemy ships began to phase back into the dark space between galaxies. Their final transmission was detected by the Builder monitoring systems. This galaxy has achieved unity. We cannot consume what has become whole. In the aftermath of victory, the Alliance leaders met once more in the Great Hall where they had first learned to work together. But now the atmosphere was different. They were no longer representatives of separate species trying to cooperate. They had become something new, a galactic civilization.